Welcome once again to North Central Cinema. I'm your host, Joseph W. Smith III. Call me Joe, please. Today we're going to be talking about movie whodunnits, largely in honor of the current film, See How They Run. I'm also going to talk briefly about one whodunit from the Golden Age and then a couple of detective films that are also coming out later this year. I really wanted to talk about See How They Run because it was one of my favorite films so far from this year. It was released theatrically in September, and I don't think it's playing locally anymore, but it will begin streaming on November 1st. It is a very old-fashioned sort of Agatha Christie-style whodunit with a strong cast. Sam Rockwell, one of my favorite actors, Saoirse Ronan, David Oyelowo, Adrian Brody, and the redoubtable Shirley Henderson in a late film appearance that I won't spoil or say anything else about. Again, it's set in 1953 in London when Christie's play The Mousetrap was running on stage. And this is about an American film director, Leo Kopernik, played by Brody, who wants to do a film version of The Mousetrap. But apparently someone doesn't want him to complete that project, and he gets bumped off in the first few minutes of the film. And the question is, who done it? There's the usual round of very juicy suspects. Rockwell plays a sort of world-weary Scotland Yard investigator, and Ronan plays his over-eager, fresh-faced assistant. And that's one of the things that makes the film work. Their chemistry is just out of this world. You know, he's just had it. He drinks too much. He's seen everything, and she's ready to jump on the first suspect that comes along. And so the two of them form a really excellent partnership. And then because he's very lonely and she's a single mom, there's just a whiff of romance in there. They don't play it up, but just enough to help drive the film forward. It's very retro, but it also feels very modern. I'm going to float this idea out there for those of you who may have seen it. It's possible when all is said and done that this film is actually the film that Kopernik wanted to make. So just think about that, tie that together with the inspector's dream sequence. If you've seen the film, take that ball and run with it and see if it works for you. What I liked best about the film was Saoirse Ronan, a young actress. She's received a pile of awards and nominations and accolades. I don't think she's ever been better than here. She is just so much fun to watch. Even her act of drinking a cup of lousy tea is magic to behold. So there's See How They Run, streaming on 11/1. Now, if you want something a little bit older or more classical, probably the best known or best-selling mystery novel ever is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. It was written, I believe, in the 30s, and according to Wikipedia, is the single best-selling mystery of all time at about 100 million copies. It has been filmed more than 12 times. One of the best versions is a black and white one directed by René Clair from 1945. You probably wouldn't recognize too many of the names in the cast, except maybe John Carradine. But they were all very well-established character actors, and they really helped drive it forward. The plot is fiendishly clever, and Christie said it was one of her most difficult books to write. These 10 people get invited to an island, and they've all got a connection to something dastardly that happened in the past. So this could be a revenge thing, but one by one, they all start dying. And crazily enough, the further along the film gets and the more people die, the harder it is to figure out what's going on. I mean, that's counterintuitive because you would think less suspects, easier to guess. But the thing just gets more and more complicated. The movie was scripted by Dudley Nichols, a Hollywood veteran who did more than 70 films, including Bringing Up Baby and Stagecoach, and he injects a little bit of humor into the proceedings just to lighten up the grim deaths and the mystery element. Incidentally, And Then There Were None, this 1945 version, is available in its entirety, free of charge, on YouTube, even now, and it's also covered in my book on Under the Radar Movies called The Best Movies You Never Saw. Now, if you're not so much interested in something older, but you like to look forward, the whodunit and the mystery story are still going strong these days. We've got two more big ones coming out before the end of the year. One is called Glass Onion, and that is a sequel to the 2019 hit Knives Out. That's incredibly clever, also fiendishly clever, whodunit from 2019 had the gall to reveal to you who done it about a third of the way through the film. But then you still had to buckle your seatbelt and hang on tight because the plotting was just superlative. Like Knives Out, this one has a solid cast. It returns Daniel Craig. He's the only returning actor as the inspector. Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Kathryn Hahn, Ethan Hawke, Leslie Odom, Kate Hudson, and Dave Bautista. Glass Onion, written and directed by Rian Johnson, who also did Knives Out. He also did the excellent Looper, The Last Jedi, and a couple of episodes of Breaking Bad. I don't know much about the plot of Glass Onion except that it is set on a Greek island. And with Johnson in charge, it's bound to be absorbing. That is set for the Thanksgiving time period, 11/23 release date. And then around Christmas time, something called The Pale Blue Eye, a murder mystery set at West Point Military Academy in 1830. Now at that time, Edgar Allan Poe was a cadet at the academy. He did eventually get thrown out, but he was a cadet there, so he actually appears in the film as a character played by Harry Melling, whom you may recognize from the Harry Potter movies or perhaps from The Queen's Gambit. He joins a detective played by Christian Bale as they try to solve a series of murders at the academy. Cast also includes Lucy Boynton. I've been a huge fan of hers ever since Sing Street, and Robert Duvall. And The Pale Blue Eye was written and directed by Scott Cooper, who did Crazy Heart and Hostiles. So he's got a very, very solid resume as well. So that's a 12/23 release date and will begin streaming on Netflix on January 6th. So there you go, coming up, Glass Onion, Pale Blue Eye. If you want to go into the past, you can look for And Then There Were None, or you can watch for See How They Run coming up streaming on November 1st. In any case, I'm very glad you joined us for this installment of North Central Cinema. If you want to talk about whodunits or movies in general, drop me a line at robwhitefan@gmail.com, and I hope to see you again next time.
At UPMC, we're pioneering new ways to treat cancer, and we're working to prevent it. We're advancing new technology to look more closely at disease and helping you breathe easier. We perform the world's first heart-liver transplant, and we're experts at keeping your heart beating strong. We're a global team of more than 90,000, advancing care everywhere and delivering it closer to you. UPMC, life-changing medicine.